obviously today's session, we have 2 sessions today. We'll be back at 2 p.m. East Coast, or 2 p.m. West Coast, a little bit later on today. So if you have to drop off, please come back. Please push this to your teammates over the weekend. I'm going to send an email on Friday. Boy, oh boy, I got so much to say. So our intention here is obviously to present great product, but to really follow it up with you. And that's my job to Brett and to Jerry to make sure that you dealers have somebody to go to, and we're continuing this conversation because it's certainly an awesome package here. All right, my good friends, Jerry, you and I worked together for a few times already. We've done some trainings. Right. You're going to be sitting behind the scenes a little bit, doing some Q&A answering, and you're going to be doing a live demo here after Brett's done and going through the ClareVision PowerPoint. Brett, great to talk to you. I hope everybody picks your brain today because you certainly seem like you can handle it. From all of us at the SnapAV locals, I'm going to turn it over to my experts. This is ClareVision today. Hit away, guys.
All right, it's great to be here, and thanks for the invite. And I hope everybody enjoys the hour. It's a lot of information. We're going to go. I have a tendency to talk a little too fast, so if you've got questions, just drop them in the box, and Jerry will get to them. ClareVision, from a concept standpoint, we've used the same brand, but when we came at this market this time, we said, we really need to give the dealers something different. We need to approach a different market segment. It can't come from one of the 2 main manufacturers in Asia. It needs to be NDAA compliant, ETL listed. So there's a lot of requirements we put around this, and it needed to be relatively flexible and open, given that the stores carry a number of different brands. Many of you are Control4 dealers. It needs to be pretty robustly integrated with Control4. So a lot of sort of vectors came in on the requirements list for this product line. I will say that we're not done, and we'll show you the next steps at the end of the presentation. We were careful not to release things that we felt weren't ready for prime time. I was mentioning earlier, we have thousands of hours of testing in this product line. So hopefully our testing and qualification and specification work has panned out for everybody. So we'll take you through the line now. Let's see. And there we go, sorry. So go through an introduction, setup and configuration, show you some performance, the product line, performance of the product. We'll do a side-by-side compare of a large Asian manufacturer, as well as a couple of the consumer brands. We thought the consumer brands would be fun to look at because, you hear about Nest and Ring and whatnot. And when you see a professional camera lined up next to one of those on a side-by-side, it's shocking. So we will be producing marketing literature for you to just bring that to your customers. We'll do a recap, and then Jerry will bring you into a live demo. So the product line is it's pretty robust. There's 39 SKUs in the product line, 3 NVRs, several accessories, and 2 different series of cameras. I'll take you into that in a moment, but it's really designed to allow you to enter a market segment that you probably weren't able to enter. We started about $115 retail with real margins. And when you see the performance of the cameras, and I'll show you the image shots in a little while, it's pretty impressive. And I always kid internally to people, and I say, what the problem with the entry-level 2 megapixel cameras, it's too damn good. And so it's going to be too easy to kind of use that camera and just call it, check a box, and move on. We'll tell you the reasons you may want to move up in the product line, but it is an excellent image performance. We spent a lot of time tuning the image performance. We have a video lab in Sarasota, Florida, and we spent over 3 months just tuning image quality. So we'll take you through that in a moment. We broke up the line into 2 series. We do have a lot of dealers that work with us that do install cameras alone with no NVR. So these are high volume security contractors that are doing residential work. They go in, they put a security system in, the builder mates put a camera in, base standard in the home. And so we needed to get a sort of a, put it in, it needs to be able to record. The NVR was a little bit too much labor, a little bit too much work. So the value series is really targeted at just that, a value product. It starts at around $115 retail. There's a 2 and 4 megapixel version. All of these value series cameras have SD cards built into them, so there's storage built in. So this is literally a mobile application, a camera on a PoE switch, and add the camera and you're ready. There are no monthly fees. It's a install and go kind of product. We then we have the performance series, and you'll see the product line is very structured. Every single camera is available in black and white. The value series have the same exact characteristics. The performance series have a enhanced set of characteristics. A generally higher resolution. The value series is 2 and 4. The performance is 4 and 8. There's a Sony Starvis for low light performance. You'll see that in the images I'll show you in a moment. There's true wide dynamic range, and the 4 megapixel camera in the performance series does come with a embedded SD card. Again, we think in fact, we're seeing it already. One of the highest selling cameras is the 4 megapixel performance series camera. And it also has advanced motion detection. It does human detection for line crossing, intrusion detection, things like that. So if you want to reduce the noise in the typical motion detection world, and you want to have great low light performance, which is really when the bad guy comes around anyway, really this is what the line that you want to upsell into. But it's a very structured line. So really what we tried to say, okay, so what's going to make us a little bit different? Well, we wanted to create a cool user experience, and I'm going to keep it that simple. Many of the applications that are delivered with these camera systems are really more on the pro side, commercial, I'll say. They don't compare to a Nest or a Ring. They're much more complex. So we drove very hard in the direction of simplicity. You'll see that, and it's not intended to be a commercial mobile application that supports 65 cameras. Complete driver support. We wanted to be able to support both our products as well as our partner company, Control4, and so we wanted to bring that to the market. We wanted it to be flexible. You're not going to buy all Claire cameras. You're not going to walk into environments where there's only Claire in the environment if you're doing a takeover or a retro. So we wanted to be able to adopt the Luma line, for example, or a Hike built product or a Dahua built product. Scalable from one camera with an SD card all the way to 60 cameras out in the field. And then we wanted to bring powerful capabilities and certification, NDAA certification. So these are the core goals behind the product line, and we'll take you through how we executed on those now. So a standalone installation, as I mentioned, the value, this is literally could be your entire installation, a camera, a mobile application, and done. The value series comes with 16 gigabytes and pre-installed. On an event basis, that's about 2,000 events. On a 4 megapixel, they come with 32 gigabytes. These are extended SanDisk SD cards built for surveillance applications, and you get about 2,000 events in a 32 gigabyte SD card. So we, and knowing that the 4 megapixel fixed lens turret was likely to be a high mover in this kind of a market, because it brings a low light, because it has a smart events, we said, you know what, we're going to throw that card in the product. It comes shipped with it, and we'll show you how you can use that in partnership with the Nvr as well. So it's that simple. There are no monthly fees. P2P, it's a P2P based product, and P2P services are free. Now, it does not mean you don't need to charge. Many dealers have a monthly fee structure for the maintenance of surveillance systems. We'd encourage that. Because we don't charge doesn't mean you don't need to charge. So you should make money with 100% profit margin. So this is the world of the ecosystem. So if you have an Nvr, if there's an Nvr example, for example, it communicates directly with the ClareVision application. It communicates also with the Claire One panel and I'll show you for what purposes in a moment. And then of course we have a Control4 driver. So from an output perspective out of the ecosystem, mobile application for standalone, it communicates with the Claire One system in a hybrid environment where you've got both, or you could have all three. You could have a ClareVision application, a Claire One panel buried in a closet somewhere using the Control4 touch panels as the user interface for the Claire system, as we've had many Control4 dealers doing. So it's really flexible in terms of how you install it that way. We are ONVIF compliant. We've tested with a number of the Luma products. Well, we've tested with each of the Luma product families, the 400, 500, et cetera, 300. And of course, we're compatible with Hike and Dahua, and anything is really ONVIF compliant. Now, we do have many of these cameras in our lab, and the reason we do list Hikvision is because we have a number of Hikvision cameras in the lab. It's not possible for us to have every ONVIF camera in our lab, so, but we do tests them extensively. So that's our world. We said, you know, we're not going to bring it to market and say, hey, it's only going to be ClareVision cameras. It also supports all the legacy ClareVision cameras. But if you want to bring in a Luma PTZ and bring it to the job site, slap it onto a Claire Nvr, use a ClareVision mobile application, attach it to the Claire One panel, and use a Claire Control4 driver, go for it. So when we start looking at the edge, we could have done this a number of different ways. We could have done cloud-based analytics like our friends at alarm.com and others. We could have put it into an AI box in the house. What we really looked at is, again, our market, that what we're trying to do is give you something that you could start with a single camera and move up from there. And we don't want to burden you with monthly fees. So we said we're going to put the analytics and storage in the edge, or at the camera. So in the value series, you have motion detection, and in the performance series, you get the smart event detection series, and we'll show you that here in a minute. As we go forward, it's in there, and I'll be very careful to point out when we're speaking future. Video verification will be added to this. So that's, for those of you that don't know what that is, that's a verification service back at the central station. When they receive an alarm, they can see the video in the proximity of the alarm event and verify the bad guy's really there. And that's a service that's available from a number of companies. We're going to be integrating that. We also wanted to create as close to a single app experience as we could, but not burden the dealer that wants to sell the surveillance system alone with the user interface parameters of a security system. So we think we came to the market with a pretty elegant solution. Jerry's going to show it to you live, and I'll explain it to you in the PowerPoint. We'll walk through that. And so all these cameras are on a common P2P, and you'll see from a cost performance perspective, you know, the 4 megapixel camera with the smart events built in, 32 gigabyte SD card, you're talking about a retail price of about $175. So we're really beating the price performance curve hard. And lastly, there's no high silicon, no Hikvision, no Dahua. None of the banned products are in these products. And that was a little bit of a Herculean effort to get 39 SKUs on the market that are compliant. So when we look at how this thing is connected, it's a pretty traditional camera in the sense that it has a local web interface. Jerry's going to show you that. And it connects back to the mobile application over a P2P cloud. And that's where you get your snapshots, live stream, your event history, and some very basic, yeah, that's great. You can't stop Teams. The snapshots, and you get some very basic panel configuration and setup. And I want to pause right here to say that we do not intend the mobile application to be a professional installation tool. It's a consumer-facing tool. If you're going to go in and configure this camera professionally, you're going to go into the web user interface the way you do traditionally. We give the user some very basic configurations, like setting motion sensitivity and things like that, that a user may want to adjust, turning on and off notifications, simple things like that. But we do not try to replicate the sophistication of the camera in the mobile application. Come on. You can also use this with an NVR works exactly the same way. The P2P interface goes from the NVR back to the mobile application. And then this is how you would add Luma cameras. So you would add the Luma camera to the ClareVision NVR, and that ClareVision NVR essentially translates it into ClareVision language and sends it to the mobile application. So you could walk into a job site that's got 3 or 4 old, say, hike cameras. You could utilize those old IP hike cameras. If they're ONVIF compliant, you bring them into the NVR, add the 2 to 3 new cameras that they want on the job site, and now they've got the ClareVision experience. You've got the free monthly services, and you're good to go. In the future, we're working on, and I'll walk you through the futures at the end of the presentation, the remote access via Oversee. And future, when I say future, I don't talk about next year, I'm talking about weeks and months. There is no, I want to make it very clear, there's no direct connection between our mobile application and a Luma camera or a Hike camera or an ONVIF camera. When you're bringing in third-party cameras, they go through the NVR. The camera setup is pretty similar to what you're used to. You can use it. We have an IP search tool. You can use virtually any IP search tool. It'll find the cameras. The thing that is a little unique about our IP search tool is it will find every single ONVIF compliant camera on the network. If that search tool brings a camera into its list, you can most likely integrate it into the NVR. The NVR has that same search tool built into it, so you don't really need to use this to locate all the cameras, but it's a convenient tool. You can log into it, Jerry's going to take you through a little bit of a presentation. You can go through the configuration and the settings. Now, the cameras do have, the value series does not have relays on it. The most of the performance series cameras have inputs and outputs on it. So you can do linkages with recordings. You can do linkages with the relays. You can do linkages to email. And you can actually do a linkage to do cloud storage right from the camera. And I'll walk through that in a moment. All of the image settings are available. Now, we spent a lot of time on image settings. I do believe in most light commercial and residential applications, you won't need to touch these. We set all of the default, when you set it to auto or default, to the settings that we have here are really so that your technicians can just kind of ignore these pages and just, it's going to work. We set frame rates, bit rates, everything we set with the eye to the local area network, the burden on the network, to the storage requirements that would be in place given the compression we're using and the size of the storage and the bit rates we're using. So we looked at all of that stuff in advance and we tuned these things for that kind of an installation, so you don't really need to get into that. If you're really a pro and you want to get into tweaking these settings, go for it. They're all there. You obviously can see live view, you can see recorded view, you can select your recorded view by event type, motion, alarm events, smart events, full record, all of that's available in the NVR. Quickly, we have the intelligent events inside these cameras are based on human body detection. So they are not just general motion, draw a box, if it comes in the box, it does need to see a body, and we have tested this extensively. If it is not a human, it's not going to fire. We do have 4 different types of intelligent events or smart events. Regional intrusion, you step inside that box and you're a human, it's going to fire. We have line crossing, which is pretty traditional, but bi-directional or in each direction. Loiter, so this is a form of intrusion detection where the person needs to stay in the box for a period of time, and that's configurable. And then people gather, which is really a density setting for people. It's really a commercial application. So those are the 4 intelligent events that are available within the performance series camera line. All the camera lines have the identical same events. They're all configured identically. NVRs, you can find your NVR. And when you get into the NVRs, these NVRs will automatically discover. They have that IP search tool built into them. They will auto discover, obviously, the cameras that are connected to the PoE ports on the back of the NVR, but they'll also automatically discover any cameras on the local area network. So when you get into the camera ad, it is utterly trivial. So I have 2 or 3 legacy Claire cameras on my house. I have a large PTZ from Hikvision. I've got a bunch of these new ClareVision cameras on my house. And it found every one of them. I entered the username and password of the Hikvision cameras and they came into the NVR instantaneously. So it's very robust in that sense. If it sees an on-VIF camera, it's going to show up. Those happen to be 2 private cameras, and private means it's the ClareVision protocol. In the NVR, you've got the NVR has a good representation of settings and configurations for the cameras. And so I'll get at the end some of the things we're adding to the NVR that are not in the NVR today. I want to be very clear about those things, and so you know we're addressing them. You can configure everything but the smart events in the NVR. You have to go to the camera to configure the smart events. That's coming soon in the next 2 to 3 months. That'll be in the NVR. But in the NVR, almost all the rest of the settings are configurable for the camera in the NVR. When you do that, you're really configuring the camera. It's a proxy service to the camera to tell the camera, here's your motion grid, here's your schedule, here's your image settings, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They're all available in the NVR. Once you commit them here, they get transmitted to the camera. So it really does make it much simpler. Storage, you can record different event types with different schedules. So you can record full full-time record on one schedule, motion on a different, smart events on a different, and alarm events on a fourth schedule. So you can create a schedule channel by channel that's unique to each one of the different types of events that or recordings that come into the NVR. So it's quite flexible. The storage device, we support obviously onboard hard drives, and they're of varying sizes. The 4 and 8 channel NVR, which are in the stores now, have a single hard drive in them. They will support up to an 8 terabyte drive. The 4 and 8 come with a 1 and 2 pre-installed. There's no warranty implications if you go in there and take that drive out. We do recommend you use surveillance grade drives like Western Digital Purple or some such drive. The 16 channel supports 4 internal drives. We ship with 1 4 gigabyte drive. It will support up to 4 terabyte drives. It'll support up to 4 8 terabyte drives for a total of 32 terabytes. It also has an eSATA port on the back, and you can just strap in an outside eSATA based hard disk drive storage system. There's also cloud storage events that you can create and link to the schedules. They will take snapshots of every motion event or every event type that you signify you want to go to the cloud, and you can start dropping snapshots into your Google Drive account or Dropbox account. This is something you'll see us grow over time. We'll begin to add, for example, the full motion event to the Dropbox account or the Google Drive account. So you'll see us start. We would likely not do that, obviously, with full-time storage, but you'll start seeing us move the events into free storage locations like Dropbox and Google. And again, we're really trying to focus on what's the cost of ownership of these kind of products, what's the cost to deploy it, and the simplicity. You can have multiple user types. You can have admins, view only. So when you get into commercial applications, that's where that's typically used. You can regulate what people can do within the systems. And of course, there's the alarm settings and configurations and IO schedules and things of that nature, all built into the NVR. I'm going to take you now to the storage picture and from a big picture. The camera, so there's really 3 blocks of storage. One is in the camera, you can have a micro SD card. You can store full-time video, which I don't recommend. It's really there for events. You can use cards up to 512 gigabytes. These and the SnapAV stores, the local stores and SnapAV commerce site, there's 120. We have up to 128 gigabyte available. They're pretty cost effective. They weren't 3 years ago. So you can create a independent storage schedule in the camera for events. So if you wanted to store, for example, smart events or motion alarms locally, you can do that independently from the NVR and almost use that as a backup. And the NVR has its own recording schedule, and they can be used to dead overlap. You can ignore these recording in the SD card and not use it at all and just rely on the NVR. Or like I said, you can record the events in the SD card in the camera, and those can be retrieved in the event you were to lose the NVR for some reason. So it's sort of a backup mechanism. And then there's the Nvr Cloud Storage, which is snapshots. It's taking the smart events, the motion events, and things of that nature, and pushing a snapshot from that particular event into the cloud storage. So those are really the storage elements that exist within the platform as it ships today. I'm going to walk you through this relatively quickly to show you the simplicity of adding a camera to the mobile application. Jerry's going to actually walk you through this live, so I won't dwell on this a lot. But we tried to make this, I'll call it consumer friendly. And so literally the process is you tap the plus button on the bottom, you select whether you're adding a camera or an NVR. And then if the device is on the network, you say, you tap it's on the network, it will scan the local network and look for any ClareVision product on the network. You select the product that you want to add, you enter the password, and you're done. That's adding a camera. Now, at the same time, if you're in a service position and you want to see a customer wants you to see their camera, or friends want to share cameras, it's exactly the same process. You literally say, Okay, select a camera Nvr. We're going to select a camera. The device is the device on your friend's network. It's on the network, not your local area network, but the network that your friend, it's connected to the network, and it so can see the internet. And then your buddy's going to send you a QR code and an email. You're going to scan, you're going to select that bottom left button and scan it manually. And you're going to add the camera, you're going to add the password. And you just added, in probably 5 minutes, you added a local camera scanning your local network. Your buddy sent you a QR code and the password to a camera that's located 3 states away, and it's instantaneously on your mobile application. So that's the level of flexibility. If the customer decides, or your friend decides doesn't want you on the camera anymore, all he's got to do is go on the mobile app, just change the password. You're done. You won't be able to see it again. So again, it's not, this is intended to be consumer facing, easy to use, flexible. And we really drove hard in that direction. And that's how you change your password, it's just in the device settings. So what we just did is we just did the P2P cloud, connecting a camera to the mobile application. So we're going to talk a little bit about how does this tie back into the security system, the Claire One system. So when you use the two together, I'm going to, you notice we have a ClareVision application. Everybody wants a single app experience. So we drove right down the middle of that. And if you use Facebook and Facebook Messenger, you use two applications that about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, Facebook split those apps, and they split them for a variety of reasons. But many people don't really realize those are two applications, but they're two applications on your phone. And the way you get between the two apps is not to go out to the operating system and tap on Messenger. You select the Messenger icon in the upper right corner, and it takes you to Messenger. That's called deep linking. So we use the same exact technology in our ClareVision and Claire Home applications to deep link between the two to create a unified experience. And you can see the aesthetics of the user interface are nearly identical. So we were very careful to make them aesthetically the same. The user experience is very similar, and yet we also allowed you to do a straight up camera install and not have the burden of all of the security interface. Adding it, Jerry's going to show you this, so I'll go through it quickly, but it's more or less the same way. You go into Fusion Pro, you scan the network. It scans the network for ClareVision products. You add the devices, you enter the credentials, and if it discovers 6 devices and you've used the same credentials across all 6, you can add all 6 at the same time. And that's about all there is really to it. There's a link inside of the Fusion that gets created automatically, that if you click on it, it'll take you to the web UI of the camera if you're local to the network. We don't allow that remotely for security reasons. We could obviously do it. So on the mobile app, so what's the difference between the two? When I just did that, I added it to this system called Claire One. And in the panel on the right, you get snapshots, live view. What we're doing also is we're bringing in all the events. So you can create a rule that says if a person enters an intrusion zone on my front porch, then turn on the front porch light. So you can create customized actions based on the events that are coming into the Claire One system in the rule engine inside of the panel. The mobile application, you can view snapshots. And we're going to show you in a moment how does that, we did not put live view in the mobile application because we essentially created a deep link back over to the ClareVision application. Now, when I added those ClareVision cameras to the Claire One panel, I created this connection, which allows the video feed to show up on the panel. It allows the rules and actions to be created and events to be created. And eventually, this is where we'll do video verification. It allowed the snapshot to show up on the Claire Home application. We did not create this link. That's what we did a little while ago. By you simply creating these two connections and loading it up on, bringing it into the mobile applications, they will automatically discover one another and deep link between the two apps. So when you, I'll show you that here, if I'm getting ahead of myself. So when you are in Claire, when you're in the Claire home application, you've got your couple of icons here for a porch, and well, I guess it's 2 porches. When you tap on one of those icons, it will automatically take you to a live view of that camera in the ClareVision application. And depending on whether you're in Android or in iOS, up in the upper left corner is a back button, and the Android, you hit the back button at the bottom. It takes you back to the ClareVision, the Claire home application. So we support 2-way talk and things of that nature. By the way, there is a OTA service for the cameras and for the NVR. And so when a new firmware version is available, it will pop up inside the mobile application and ask the user to accept it. So that's what deep linking is, and Jerry's going to show you a live view. We also have the driver integration for Control4, snapshots, email notifications, push notifications, live view, pretty robust driver. It does not support SDDP today. We're going to be doing that in the back half of this year, where we'll be embedding OvrC into making it, the cameras in the NVR a native OvrC device, as well as embedding SDDP. And when we do that, it will be a discoverable product by Control4. The driver today is downloadable from the website. You can get events from either the motion detection or basic motion detection or smart events, and create all the rules you want in the world in Control4 based on those things. Here's what's coming soon. If you've used Night Vision, there'll be a virtual host. We expect, when I say coming soon, it's going to be by the end of this quarter, Q2. There'll be an IP pass-through for camera configuration, advanced driver support, et cetera, et cetera. Virtual host, essentially, the NVR becomes a router, and you can kind of route right through the NVR and get directly to the camera. Make camera setup a little bit easier. Cameras at launch, and I stressed this early on, we've put thousands of hours of testing into these. We do not have smart events in the ClareVision mobile application. That is going to be in this quarter. We will release that for the event list within the mobile application. And then we will have OvrC Pro compatible, whether it's through a OvrC Pro enabled router or the OvrC Pro device. You'll be able to log into this device, see live video, and do all configuration. You can do it today with configuration. The live video is coming soon. So these are the 3 things that we're essentially working on right now, and that will be released over the coming weeks: a virtual host, smart events in the end user mobile app, and OvrC Pro compatibility for passing video. Like I said, the basic screens in terms of configuration are there now. So I thought I'd give you a little view of the camera performance. I'm going to run right into Jerry's time. I won't go through this in great detail, other than consumer cameras really do suck. You'll see that. This is a Ring camera. This is a Nest camera, if you can see my mouse moving, and followed by a widely available Asian manufacturer, 2 and 8 megapixel turret. This is the $105 at the bottom left corner. That's our $105 retail, $115 retail, 2 megapixel, 16 gigabit card built in, available in turret or bullet, white and black. So when you start looking at what Ring calls color rendering, and you look at what the real color, trust me, the area that we took a shot in doesn't look anything like this cartoon that Nest has produced. This camera is pretty incredible for that price point. This is the 4 megapixel value, and then you get into the performance series cameras, and you can see over here in the bottom right, that's the 4K camera. When you start really challenging cameras is when this happens. This is a night view. This was a cloudy night, dark enough that the low light capabilities of the cameras were not, they tripped over. There was below 1/10 of a lux. You can see with the Ring camera in the upper left, this is the image you're going to get from a Ring camera of exactly the same resolution as the, the value series 2 megapixel turret. And that Ring camera is $199 retail, and that 2 megapixel value turret is $115. So if you want to start going after, if you're in the security business and you've got customers, because I know this happens because my wife runs a security business, I'm just going to go get a Ring camera. We're going to produce the images from these video tests and give them to you and say, that's great. Are you going to be able to tell who the guy in the upper left is? Because I can't. This is Nest. And then you follow through here. And if you look over here in the bottom right, the clarity in that 4K camera at night, when you look off into the distance, you can see minutia detail off into the distance in that 4K camera. The 4 megapixel cameras, nearly equally as good. They're very, very well executed cameras. So we spend a lot of time on this performance metric, especially at night, because that's when the bad guy comes, not broad daylight. These are performance tests at 0.1 lux. 0.1 lux is kind of a break point when most IR illuminators will start to fire, unless your camera has reasonably low light capability. So here's our cameras over here. This is on the complete left. You can see we're still seeing color. Now, if you see it 0.1 lux, so you know it, if you were to walk in that room, you could not, your naked eye can't see that chart. You can see there's something on the wall. It's 0.1 lux is near total darkness. These cameras, of course, the IR is not on in this camera or this camera. Those are the performance series cameras. You can see the color is still being rendered. The chart's fairly clear. Same thing with the 4 megapixel. You can see on the difference between the value series and performance series. You can see the difference in how they handle low light, because these have got the Sony Starbus sensors in them. These do not. This is a Nest camera, which is absolutely imperceptible, and that is the ridiculousness of the Ring cameras were just absolutely horrible. I probably shouldn't say that, but anyway. And then this is another professional series camera from a large manufacturer in Asia, and you can see their cameras are relatively comparable to ours. They cost substantially more, but they're comparable. But it's the guys in the middle that some of my security partners are losing business to. And those cameras from a performance perspective are terrible. Now, I understand that's not what they sell. They sell the mobile experience, they sell the AI features and so on. But at the end of the day, if you can't see the person in the image that did whatever, that broached into some area, I'm not sure the AI matters if you can't see. This is a daylight rendering of the same thing. And you can see, again, this is full night. If you look at this color chart here, and you look at this Nest color chart or this Ring color chart, it's utterly ridiculous. This is I'm sorry, this one here. This is a 2 megapixel. This is $105 retail. These are $200 retail. And look at the quality of the images. Look at the eye charts. Again, you look at the competitive large manufacturer, and you look at our 8 megapixel camera. You can see up here in these upper corners, the rendering of these very difficult charts is quite good. And this is a close-up of what it really looks like. Those are your consumer cameras in the middle. Here's a line in summary, and I'm going to turn this over to Jerry here in a minute. You've got the value series. They started about $105 retail, go to about $135 for the 4 megapixel. And then you've got the performance series, started about $175 retail. And they add the smart events, Sony Starbus, and true wide dynamic range, and they have 3 streams built in, whereas the value series have 2. And then you move to the varifocal version of the performance series cameras. Those are 2.8 to 13.5 millimeter motorized. They're all of them are motorized. The bullet camera is unique in that it has about a 60 meter IR range to it. The others are in the area of 30 meters. The Nvrs are also a little bit unique. They are all 4K, 4K in, 4K out. They all come pre-installed with hard disk drives. And we work with the manufacturer to do this because as an integrator, ex-integrator, I know what the 5th camera conversation is like with a customer, or the 9th camera conversation what they've got an Nvr. They say, I want to add 1 more camera, and you're staring at the Nvr you've already installed, and there's no ports left. So what we did is we said, let's license these things to give you more flexibility. So when you sell a 4-channel Nvr, if you get stuck putting in 5 or 6 cameras, there's no, I've got to tear that Nvr out. I got to put a different Nvr in. This is an $800 change, $1,000 change for 1 camera. So it's a little strange, but we support up to 9 cameras on the 4-channel. There's 4 ports on the back of it. We support up to 16 cameras on the 8-channel. There's 8 ports on the back of it. And coming in June, we'll have a 16-channel NVR that supports up to 25 cameras. And this thing is blistering fast. Now, I will tell you, pay attention to, don't just go in there and try to sell the 8-channel as a 16-channel NVR. There are bandwidth limitations to these NVRs. Know what you're doing before you do that. Look at the bandwidth of the NVR and look at the bandwidth. You know, if you're going to try to load that thing up with 16 4K cameras, you're going to run into trouble. So just be cognizant of the bandwidth. It's really a get out of jail free card for those kind of odd scenarios where somebody added a camera on you late. So again, we're trying to just watch out for our integrator partners. We put this in the presentation. I'm not going to go through these in detail, so that because this presentation is going to be available to you, it goes through the various specs of the various cameras in a convenient way. And of course, they're all NDAA compliant. And the 3 NVRs. We will be releasing a 4th NVR later in the year that will support 36 channels. Don't ask me where these numbers come from. So when you get down to the bottom line, and I'm going to turn this over to Jerry, we kind of went for, you know, a really simple, cool interface that you could explain to a customer in 5 minutes flat. We didn't give them a lot of the control over the configuration, because literally what we started to look at is you're going to spend, you know, maybe 20-30 minutes setting up a camera, and then you're going to give a lot of configuration options to the end user. They're going to step all over the configuration you did, and then you're going to get a phone call, because I've been there. So we said, let's give them responsible control, but let's not let them step all over the work that you did. So we don't give them access to image settings and things of that nature. And it overwhelms them anyway. Driver support for Claire 1 and Control 4 at launch, flexible. It covers on-VIF cameras. You can go buy a Luma camera tomorrow and strap it onto one of the NVRs. Scalable, you can start with a $105 retail camera with an SD card built in and a mobile app, all the way up to multiple NVRs on a job site. And then we wanted to price it right so you could be professionally installed and compete against the craziness in the DIY world. And then it's a powerful option. We've got in the performance series, we got AI-based features, we've got true dynamic range, we've got Sony Starbits image sensor. So it's a quite powerful lineup. And then it is certified. It complies with NDAA and it's CTL listed. So the building inspector will leave you alone. And with that, I'm going to turn this over to Jerry and stop sharing.
Yeah, Brett, I'm blown away. Fascinating presentation. So clear and concise for our dealers. What a great job. Listen, I'm with guys every single week, and I'm giving you the awesome impressive award for the month, Brett. You get it. No, what a great presentation. Look at Jerry's had 50 questions during your presentation.
Guys, I've been getting hammered.
That's like one every, and he's keeping up, which is hilarious. But no, you guys are asking, you know, ring questions and clarity questions and compatibility issues. It's fantastic. Like I said earlier, I think these guys, perfect timing for this presentation. Jerry, yeah, let's get into some hands-on here. Brett, stay tuned and we'll wrap all this up. I don't want anybody leaving with any questions. We don't have a hard stop in 15 minutes. Let's continue the presentation. Just an awesome job, guys. Take it away, Jerry.
Seriously, those questions, man, my hands are actually, I'm tired from, wow. Anyway, great questions. And if you guys, for anyone that doesn't know where the questions are, you can actually go see the ones that were answered. If you tap on that QA area, there's you should be able to pull them up. So I did hit live on a couple of those, and we'll explain at the end. If you guys stick around, we'll be able to address those. So without further ado, we want to do a quick showing. I know we've done a lot of talk, a lot of images and things like that, but we kind of want to show you what this stuff's all about here. So I am going to share my screen so you guys can see here what the fuss is about here. So can you guys see that okay?
Yep, looks good.
So what I just did, I just logged into to an actual live shot. I've got a couple of different camera views here. One is the actual NVR, which is this one. You can see it's kind of a matrix view here with the 3 different cameras that I've got. The first top 2 are actually the new ClareVision cameras. The bottom one is one of our old legacy ClareVision cameras, which was really, really simple to add in here. Luma cameras, Hikvision cameras, any of those types of cameras, you can actually scan right from the NVR to find those cameras. All you really need is the username and the password to get those things added as a channel on the NVR. So it works really great. It was super easy to add them, especially in comparison. I've used other equipment and NVRs in the past, and I found this incredibly easy to maneuver and navigate. So just a couple quick things in the NVR before I hop out of here. This channel button is exactly where I was just describing, where you can literally go in here. If I click this add button, this goes out and this searches the local area network for any devices, whether you want an ONVIF or private. Private means it's looking for the ClareVision protocol. And you can see here, it's already picked one up. There's one at 172.16.1.30 that I'm not going to add. But you can see that I'd already added those other 3 cameras. So one other thing to point out in the NVR, smart events and things like that, instead of having to go and configure each and every individual camera, you can actually do this from the NVR just by clicking on the system. And if you head down to smart events, the NVR has the intelligence to know, which cameras are capable of handling these types of events. If it's a Hikvision camera, that won't even show up in my channel list here because it knows it doesn't have those capabilities in it. So as you can see, there's line crossing, intrusion, loitering, and people gathering, and then all the different things that you can do. You can make the annoying buzzer go off, which I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. But there's channel recording, which is probably what most people would use, where if you're doing channel recording, you just head back over to playback. You pick the channel on the left-hand side of the screen. And then over on the right, you've got all the different types of motion or whatever, smart events that you want to check out through the playback. So it really works well. It'll all show up on your timeline, just like this, where it's red. That all has recorded footage, so you can just scroll through the timeline. And it's the same on your mobile device. You can do that as well. I do want to jump over to the camera here. This is a live view of the camera. So you can see this is the driveway. This is live. There's a car going by. I don't know how that looks on the Zoom presentation, and yeah, he is driving about 5 miles an hour. But the same thing, if you're doing a standalone installation, you got the same with a performance camera, and you do have the same type of smart events in here as well. You got the system, the storage, you can manage your storage, arming for notifications and things like that. If I go down, you got smart events. And this looks very similar to the NVR settings, where if you're doing, like I said, a standalone camera, you would be doing the programming in the camera instead of doing it in the NVR. Nice thing is if you're in the NVR with multiple cameras connected, you kind of do it in one place, which makes it nice instead of having to go out to all the individual cameras to do that. So what I want to do now, I'm going to switch over and I'm going to load up the app so you guys can see what that looks like. And we're going to add both the standalone camera and we'll also add the NVR just so you guys can kind of get an idea how this whole thing works. So pull this up here. You can see the app, and I'm just going to start fresh here and close this out. So there it is, the ClareVision app. This pops right open. It says, hey, there's no devices added. I'm going to tap the plus button down below, click camera, say, hey, this device is on the network. This will immediately go out, search, and find anything that I have that's on the network. So right now, I know that my camera is that .100 address just because I was in the browser just a second ago. So I tap that. You can see that it's got that identification number up at the top, so you can always identify which camera is which. You can also always use the IP search tool as well if you don't know which cameras are which by serial number or device name. So type in my password. And of course, you can name that. I'm going to save us time and go to done here. It's going to add the camera, and it should be immediately accessible. Just tap on it. And boom, it pops up. I mean, and it's as clear as day. Here you can turn on volume controls. You can toggle between what type of view you want, whether maybe you're in a low bandwidth or poor mobile area where you don't want to pull in an HD stream. You can easily toggle between HD and your standard def. So I mean, it's really, really simple. You can also go full screen by hitting the 2 arrows down there on the bottom right. This one does not have a microphone, but it sure does have a speaker. I'll spare you the noise outside for now, but I'm going to go head back to the main screen, and we will add the NVR here real quick. Again, it's the same way. The difference between adding the camera and the NVR, if you add a standalone camera as an NVR, it's only going to pull up the first channel. So You're going to want to hit NVR if you do have an NVR. Just a quick tip. So tap on the NVR. Again, just as simple as add in the password. Done. It's going to check it out. It'll pull up the NVR here. If I tap here, it's going to ask us what channels, because we're going to, this is a 16 channel NVR, which is capable of, or it's actually, you can connect 16, it's an 8 channel NVR, but you can connect 16 cameras to it. It's got an 8-port PoE on it. And then you can add, I like to call them virtual channels, but you can add those in there as well. So I know that channel 1, I have a camera connected to that. And then I have 2 other cameras on 9 and 10. So you'll see these all pop up just like that, really, really fast. And if you double click these, you can easily pop open the view, just like I saw in the web browser. So, I mean, it's really, really that simple. I mean, you know, it's very simple, very little. There's no typing in IP addresses and things like that. Matter of fact, you don't even need to really scan one of these. The only time that you would actually scan it, like I heard Brett mention when he was doing the webinar, hey, I have a camera here. I want to share it with Brett. So this bottom camera, I know this is just the camera because I can see the purple icon on the bottom right-hand side. If I want to share this with him, boom, I can open up this QR code and I can either send this over, you know, we use Teams at Clear Controls, or I could send him a text message. He could just simply go in, add a camera. He hits this. He could either hit the devices on or off the network. And there's an area here that'll just pop open. So you can either scan the QR code, or you can just go ahead and grab one from your file if you saved it somewhere. It's that simple to share camera. Really, really easy. So next thing I want to do quickly here is I'm going to jump back onto the computer. A lot of people were asking, there was a ton of questions about, hey, does this integrate, you know, in the Clear Home ecosystem? How easy does it work? Does the NVR work? Does it pull the channels and stuff like that? So let's take a look. I'm going to pop this open, go into Fusion Pro. Of course, I'll sign in here real quick. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get right into Fusion Pro, just like you would if you were going to be adding these cameras, if you were integrating them with a Clear One panel. So I've got a panel sitting right here next to me. I go to devices here. Let me move our pictures out of the way. Add devices. We've got cameras. Now, I could add both the standalone camera and the 8-port, the 8-channel NVR. So first, I'm just going to do the cameras. And like I said, when I do this, we'll jump out of this app and head back over into the Claire app here. So what's going to happen is when I start adding these cameras, they will pop up as tiles and be viewable, not only on the Clear One panel as a tile, but also in the Clear Home app. So we'll see that here in a second. I'm going to add this 8-megapixel turret. I'm just going to put in my credentials for the camera. Add selected device. If I typed my password in right, this will process the device and it'll add it. And really cool thing about this already recognized that I've added this. I touched nothing on the phone. It says, hey, we just recognized there's been something new added to your system. I'm just going to click add, and it just added it as a tile just like that. And I already see the picture pop up. I mean, it's that quick. So next thing I want to do, we have an NVR. Jump back out into devices here and go to add devices. This is a 8-channel. You do need to know the IP, but you can easily get that if you have an IP scanner, or just the IP search tool works just as well. Yeah, I'm going to put in the credentials. We'll add this guy in here, and they're already popping up on my phone here. I can see them if I pull this open for you again. It's over on the side. You can see as they add, they're popping up on the app. Oh, I might have picked the wrong channel there. So I can easily add this in, boom, add, and boom on the phone. And it immediately adds those tiles right to the, we do have a little redundancy because I do have a standalone camera that's also added to the NVR, but as you can see, they pop up pretty quick. When you tap on one of these, if you just saw that, let me go back again and demonstrate that. When I tap on a tile, I know Brett mentioned this, and I see I have duplicates because one is a standalone, but it's also connected to the NVR. When I go in here, let's remove this guy here. When I tap on one of these, it's not going to open up in the native Clear Home app. It's actually going to be deep linked and open up in the ClareVision app. If I do this again, it jumps right over and opens that instantly in the other app. I can go right back over seamlessly, and it's comes right back up. So I mean, it's amazing actually. And the reason we did that, there's a lot more that you can do in the ClareVision app. Then of course you can still view them, you know, the snapshots and things in as tiles. But to be able to just jump over here and be able to do that it's awesome. So yeah, I think we've come a pretty good distance in a short period of time. As Brett was saying, hours and hours and hours we have spent. And Brett, by the way, probably about 40 or 50% of our questions were people asking about those camera images and comparison shots that we've got in that PowerPoint. So we do need to make sure that we make that PowerPoint accessible to everybody, because everybody seemed pretty impressed about the comparisons between the different camera types and products. So we should make that readily available for everyone.
One thing, if I could pipe in, I did not cover. The cameras are plugless, meaning they don't need Internet Explorer with the exception of the playback page. Again, that's something we're working on right now. I didn't put that on the near term. The NVR is going to go plugless as well. You know, this summer, the entire product line will be plugless. I hate Internet Explorer as much as anybody. So, but we're working on it, and we're focusing on reliability right now. So
somebody was asking about being able to open these up on a Mac. Just like you just said, everything seems like it's always Windows, opening it up in Internet Explorer. I'm on a Mac, and I just opened up, it's a Chrome-based browser. This is on, I was using what's called a virtual machine for Windows, which is this. But if I minimize that, I'm now on the Mac, and this is actually viewing the camera on Chrome on a Mac. This view right here is on the Mac, so it's cool. The only thing it's missing just one small tab up here at the top, but all of your configurations and everything else is all the same, which is awesome for me because I hate having to go between browsers and all that stuff because it's a pain in the butt. So pretty impressive.
And we're on time.
Yeah, guys, I mean,
we have a minute to spare.
We still, you know what, Jared, we still have probably, if you've gone through everybody's questions, but man, that was an awesome presentation. Many hits here. Brett, awesome job. You know, yes, this is going to be available, Jerry, like you talked about. I'm going to have this whole slide presentation as well as a recording of this. You're going to be able to have access to the questions that were already asked. I'm going to tie all that stuff up and get it to you Friday morning for a full recap. But I think that we're going to have a lot more discussion with dealers. I think this is going to really help push the conversation forward, gentlemen. So I think job well done. Everybody, remember, we're back here. Brett, Jerry, 4 more hours. You guys ready to go?
Absolutely.
You do a wardrobe change, redo the makeup, but we're back in 4 hours.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm going to record that as well because just viewing the kind of interaction we've been having, questions can go all over the map, and I want you guys to have full access to that. So with that, expect all that stuff, guys, to me on Friday morning. We will be back here a little bit later on today. Please pass to your team. I had a couple guys say they had to duck out. But what a great conversation today. You know, Clint, I think everybody back at SnapAV is going to be very impressed with this presentation and where we currently are with the SnapAV locals with this product. Man, it just seems so easy. The price point perfect. You know, Jerry, how you demonstrated that. I maybe it's just your ultra confidence. You've done it a lot, but man, that seems so simple to operate and user friendly.
It is that easy. I mean, when the first couple times I was doing it, I was like, well, what else do you have to do? They're like, there's nothing. I was like, this is insane.
Right.
I'm going to get back to these questions. They're piling up again here, so I'm going to try to answer a few of these. Is there a way to maybe unmute people if they want to
Yeah,
do
you can
live?
you can, or you can just start addressing them live if you like,
Okay.
and that might just help. Let's just start at the top and we'll just go through them, and then they can pick that up on the recording because it's still recording right now. So yeah.
Okay. There is one at the top. It says, what is the difference between these cameras and Luma camera relative to the Control4 integration? Brett said he will answer that live, or maybe I did that. I'm not sure, but Brett, is there a difference between what they're asking?
The primary difference is, and I'm not going to claim to be an expert on the Luma integration, but I do believe it's a certified integration. It uses SDDP. We are going to be implementing Oversee natively into the cameras and NVRs later this year, when we can kind of sync up our schedules with the Oversee team. And once that's done, SDDP will be embedded in the as part of Oversee. You get SDDP, so SDDP will be embedded in the NVRs and cameras, and then the two drivers will be pretty much neutral.
Got it. I'll continue with maybe some lightning round here. Bill Reynolds asking, glad to see they're NDAA compliant, but again, who is your OEM? Jerry said you were going to answer that one live. Did we cover that?
I answered that, and I didn't answer the OEM question. I just said that they are absolutely NDAA compliant.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what
we don't really talk about our manufacturer partners, but we use more than one. We use 2 or 3, and so we do different manufacturers in Asia focus on different market segments. So you'll see us come out with cameras that are a little bit more retailish, indoor Wi-Fi cameras, things like that. So the camera manufacturers that focus in that market segment are different than the camera manufacturers that do the things that Hike does. So so that's and we have these things built to spec anyway. So the manufacturers, it's only important in that it's not an NDA banned company.
Right. Understood. That could be sensitive, but thank you for addressing. I appreciate that. Jer, continuing on.
Yes, sorry, I was at the bottom typing more answers. So, okay, that one's good. Does the Clear Video Doorbell integrate with the NVR like a camera? So I'm going to say yes. If you have an NVR, it should be able to pick up the camera stream just like it would be like a on-VIF camera. So yeah, that should work.
Yeah.
And then there's something that says, "What is this on Ring?" I'm not sure what that's referring to. Whether probably the comparison shots.
Yeah, I think so. Daryl, if you didn't get your question answered, hit me back. But yeah, let's move forward on that one.
The $1 million question: brand product positioning near term and long term with Luma versus ClareVision. Brand product positioning near and long term with Luma versus ClareVision.
Do you see where he's going with that, Brett?
Yeah, I don't want to go there.
The sensitive hour. Here we go.
Yeah,
okay.
Rather than compare it to Luma, what I'll say is we are absolutely pursuing a specific segment of the market, and we're trying to. For too long, everybody's been faced with dealing with sourcing from 2 manufacturers with near identical conditions or features and benefits. And what we're trying to do at this line is break out from that. And then also understanding that you're getting constant pressure on the, especially if you're in a security business, you're getting a lot of price pressure on surveillance installs. And so we want to create a brand that's unique and different with a different value set, and then also understand that we need to enter a market segment that's probably not being serviced very well right now. So, cameras that are reliable, full cast aluminum, IP67, NDAA compliant, starting at $105 retail. So that's really the segment. So our retail numbers, they're in the sub $400 range for the entire camera line. So these 4 megapixel varifocal turret camera is sub $400 retail. So it's you can do the math, and it's full margin. So it's we're not just tearing apart margins doing that. So that's our segment.
Appreciate that, bud. Kevin asks, maybe to Brett, is ClareVision protocol encrypted? And if so, AES 128 or 256 or what?
It is encrypted. And I honestly, I can tell you the encryption for every single other thing in our product line except that. It's probably 128, but I could get back to you.
Wayne asks, what speed are the ports on the NVRs?
The port on the it depends on the NVR first of all, but the port, generally the port on the LAN side is 1 gig, and the ports, the PoE ports in the back are 100 meg. And that's all they need. That's what they need to be to support a single camera.
Wayne also is following up. Does the tile in the Claire Home app change periodically? So when you look at the camera, you are tapping on it. If it's at night time, will it show the same view?
Jerry, on it.
I'm sorry, I was typing in a question. Can you say that again real quick?
Well, he wants to know, does a snapshot update in Claire Home?
Yes, it does. Yes, and mine probably already changed. Yep, they update. So then if it's day or night, you'll see that sometimes it's dark. I don't know the exact time of the, I think it used to be 60 seconds, but I don't know if we pull it that quickly anymore. But I can find that out for you for a fact from the guys at Claire.
I see Eddie Bloom on here from Vegas. Eddie, love you, buddy. I'm not sure. I think you got your question answered, but thanks for joining us today. If there's something else, hit me back. You know, we'll take care of you. Alan, price points of NVRs, like we said, let's link and get you to your appropriate distributor. We'll get you the answer to that as far as your cost. The current Clear doorbell is Hikvision. What will that tie into the NVR? And I'm assuming you must have a new doorbell in the works. That's from David.
Yes and yes.
Yep.
Keep that simple.
Todd, any plans for PC app that will connect to NVR for live recording and full configuration through P2P?
Yes, we're in the middle of testing. I think you're talking like a VMS app that will strap across multiple NVRs in multiple facilities or in one facility. And the answer is yes, we're in test. It's in test right now. We do not have a release date on it, but it'll be this year.
Look at David. Look at David's testimonial. And by the way, great presentation. My new go-to camera system. Gentlemen, great job.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Howard, 12 channel, 8 megapixel. Well, cameras. Is your current NVR able to support the bandwidth? 12 channel, 8 megapixel camera.
12.
The NVRs are 4 channel and 8 channel. The 4 can actually support up to 9 channels, and the 8 channel can support up to 16. I think what you're asking is basically how many 8 megapixel cameras would a NVR be able to hold on to or to without crashing or without overpowering it. I know that our lab guys are testing that as we speak right now, and I know they've connected several 4 and 8 megapixel cameras, not only to the PoE ports, but also to what I call the virtual ports. So it really depends on, there's no real specific number.
Well, I'll get a little bit more specific. We did test the all ports the physical ports with 4K 8 megapixel cameras and the virtual ports with 2 and 4 megapixel cameras. Keep in mind that the bandwidth is affected by motion. H.264.5, whatever, is a motion-based compression algorithm. So you can have it sitting in a lab where there's nothing going on and there's almost no data being passed anyway. So if you take that out on a street corner and you point 8 cameras at a street corner, you're going to get a very different set of bandwidth coming in into that NVR. So it really is application dependent. You can set the bit rates manually and restrict them. So there's some tweaking you can do, but we have tested it in reasonable environments with reasonable motion with 4K cameras on all ports.
Wayne asks again, just to be clear, what is the stage of camera that starts having the smart features?
Anything with the performance series. The part numbers are, I love simplicity and structure. Everything's black and white. The value series are V100, the performance series are V200. The feature set of the V200s performance series are identical, with the exception of the fact that there are varifocal cameras in that lineup. Other than that, the software features of those products are absolutely identical.
Got it. Boy, we can keep going on. Jared, what do you got? What do you got going?
I am typing and what do we got here?
Lewis,
Oh,
any fisheyes coming?
Not this year. We looked at it. I'll just leave it at that. We
Okay.
have Wi-Fi cameras on the near horizon, bullet and turret in the value series in 4 megapixel. Those are in the, I'll call it near-term horizon, and the midterm horizon is color at night cameras. So we'll have a color at night series coming out. Same exact chassis that you've seen there, the turrets and the bullets. The values, the color at night will be 4 megapixel. The Wi-Fi's are 4 megapixel. Color at night is going to be a performance series camera.
Got it. What frame rate when recording to cloud?
It's not a frame rate. It's those are snapshots. Over time, we will add the ability to store an event into Google Drive or Dropbox, but right now it's a snapshot.
Howard Chang, any cameras support two-way audio, mic and speaker on camera?
No speaker. There are a number of them, and you can check it out on the SnapAV commerce site. There are a number of them that might have microphone. For example, Jerry's 8 megapixel he had there has a microphone built into it. So there's a goodly number of them that have mics built in. They have an audio out that you can tap into, a line feedback that you can tap into and take out to an audio system of some kind, but there's no speaker directly on the camera.
Eddie Bloom, what is the warranty length on cameras, NVRs, advanced replacement? Did we cover that?
2 years and yes.
Okay, got it. Well, I love the engagement.
I'm very verbose. Get to the point.
Jason, are these cameras going to be price protected? You know, do you see that question there, Jerry?
Yeah, are these going to be price protected? Hoping to add a little more margin to these products, but don't want to get shopped online.
Well, I'll let Gary, you can answer that question. I don't know anybody better than your company at price protecting dealers, so I'll let you field that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Jason, I do believe you are protected there. Stuff is not available. But I'd like to see, hit me on the side, and we'll see what's going on with you. And I'd love to get you into this product for sure. See if you are having issues with price. We've had it at our Van Nuys location. I mean, it comes up, and then all of a sudden we're readdressing a certain competitor's price point. And listen, we're very aware of what you're up against out there, but that's precisely why this line was developed and brought in. It's perfect.
Now, keep a couple things in mind. This brand is only available at the Pro Stores, Volume, SnapAV. This is not available in another distributor where they're going to be just, ADI or whatever. They're going to hammer the hell out of the pricing on these things. And we don't broadcast MSRP. So if you find you've got a camera that you can get an extra 10 or 15 points out of it, go for it. I mean, we're not telling you what to sell these for. We're telling you what we think we're trying to position it for in the market. But if you've got a little bit of gas on the job, go.
Yeah. Chad reiterates, this is as good as it sounds. I'm unsure why I ever bought Luma again, or why I would ever buy Luma again. And I can bring it to Control 4 and drive then. Well, that's where he's going with it. Thanks, Chad. Jer, I'll let you field the rest of these if these are.
Yeah, there's a good one here from Jeff. It says, how about intercom from the door camera to the panel through deep linking? It's not really deep linking what we're doing with the doorbell. We have a Clear Video Doorbell, and I believe it's in our next release, just a couple of weeks out. You'll actually be able to use the doorbell and answer the doorbell on the Clear One panel. Above and beyond that, we actually took it a step further. We'll have canned responses. We'll also be able to, you'll be able to disarm security, open door locks, and run what we call scenes in the Clear world, all from that same page as well. So it's not only just an intercom answering and talking through the Clear One panel to your doorbell. It's a whole lot more. So it's gonna be awesome.
See that question from Eric about Control 4 being plugged into the NVR?
When integrating with Control 4, can the cameras be plugged into the NVR, or do they have to be on a switch? Also, is there a third stream in the camera for viewing in Control 4?
Okay, let me field that. So today, as we sit here, the driver for the NVR is a NVR driver, and you are talking to the NVR, and the NVR is getting live view and snapshots from the cameras. If you want to access motion events and smart events today, you would have to pull them, put them on the local area network. The reason we're releasing in near future, in Q2, a virtual host software update to the NVR is precisely for the reason you're asking. What you will do then is you'll use the Control4 driver for the camera and point it to the IP address of the NVR with a colon port number. And it will pass it right through to the camera, and you'll actually be using the camera driver and all of its rich features to gain access to smart events, motion events, snapshots, live view, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you kind of hit dead on why we're doing the virtual host.
Got it. Great. Jer, anything else poking out at you?
I'm answering some.
Okay.
We have marketing info comparing head to head with other NDAA cameras and NVRs. We could probably come up with something like that in our spare time.
Kevin, get with me about who you're working with. If it's AllNet, MRI, or Volutone, I can help a little bit from my marketing chair and try to get you some comparatives. So let's discuss that. Hit me at gary.usher@volutone.com.
And Kevin Spire asked, does our NVR support external storage? There's a USB port for storage, but I think you're talking more about like a SATA drive. That's on the 16 channel and what the upcoming 36 channel NVR. Those have SATA ports built into them for the attachment of drive arrays.
And then Lewis, to follow that one up with, does it record to NVRs as well? Or did you just answer that and it went away? Sorry.
Okay.
Ecosystems connected. Feel free to take that. Okay, Dave, no problem. I think we're about there, guys.
Yeah, and any you can email Jerry or myself. Our email addresses are first name dot last name at clarecontrols.com. I'm Brett Price. That's Jerry Bolda. We'd be happy to answer any of your questions at any time. Yeah,
wow, 10:20. All right, guys, that was huge. That was great. We're going to come back in 4 more hours and do it all again. Gentlemen, take a rest. Get you guys replenished, because we'll be back at it a little bit later on today. Today's training was incredible. I cannot say that enough. I do this every single week. I'm really impressed with what I saw today and the dealer interaction, and it's really going to help me and my team kind of embrace what we presented today and get behind it. And that's, I think, the bottom line. I think we've got a lot of eager dealers out there that are willing to learn more and continue to install. So great job, guys. That's exactly what we intended to do on this training. Brett, I'm very impressed. Jerry, great working with you again, and thank you for fielding all that stuff. All right, guys, I'm going to start working on our follow-up email on Friday. We'll be back a little bit later on today. What a great afternoon with ClareVision. Thank you guys so much from all of us, the SnapAV locals. Yeah, we cannot thank you guys enough. And that's AllNet, MRI, Custom Plus, and Volutone. And only here can you get these guys on the hot seat and talk about product in the now, as we're doing right now. Thank you guys so much. We'll be back at you a little bit later on today. See you next week.
See you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.